In a small town, babies are being born with tails. Mulder suspects that maybe aliens are at work
when the latest mother claims the father was from another planet. In reality, the explanation is paranormal, but very much of this world.
This is not him.
I admit the photo is a little over the top, but, what do you think, Scully?
No, seriously.
Children born with vestigial tails don't interest you?
Caudal appendages, fetuses have them. The coccyx enlarges to contain the spinal fluid, and then it shrinks as the child develops. Occasionally, it doesn't. It's extremely rare, but it has been known to happen.
5 times within the last 3 months, all in a town with a population of less than 15,000 people. I'd say that's a little more than a statistical anomaly.
So would I. No, Mulder, I think you're right. I think there's something about this definitely warrants investigation, only not by us. I'd say that it's a job for the local health department.
I called around. They're already investigating.
So what else about this interests you? Could it be, visitors from space?
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast. I am your host, Mike, and with me, as always, my good friend Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm really good, Mike. So good. I insert pun about potatoes. That's all I got. Insert it now.
Okay. Pun, potatoes.
Wait, hold on.
Well,
wait, hold on. I am going to give you a pun about potatoes. I'm going to give you 3 puns about potatoes, actually. Are you ready for this?
Buds? Yeah. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
I was going to tell a potato joke, but I didn't want to mash it up. Mike, some people find potato puns appealing, but I think they're half-baked.
Oh, dang.
And if you're feeling fried, just take a break and chip away at the small things.
Wow. That people even wrote those is amazing to me.
Exactly.
Well, we are talking, of course, ladies and gentlemen, of Small Potatoes. Season 4, episode 20, written by good old Vincent Gilligan of Soft Light fame.
That's it.
Not Breaking Bad.
That's all he did.
That's it. You know, you've never heard of him since then.
Yeah, he's marginally involved in the X-Files. This is going to be a real quick one, I think, because, boy, this is so good, this episode. I'm going to just cut to the chase.
Well, way to give it away.
I couldn't resist.
I've got some major complaints here.
Okay. All right. Maybe we'll have some controversy. Maybe you actually don't like this episode.
Fuck this episode. No. Directed by Cliff Bowl?
Yep.
I believe. Yeah. Okay.
And
we get the return. What?
Did you do any deep diving on Cliff Bowl?
I did not.
He goes on to direct Bad Blood, another Vince Gilligan episode, as well as...
I knew I'd heard that name before.
Yeah, as well as Jump the Shark, another Vince Gilligan episode. So clearly these two know each other.
These two like working together.
I think so.
And I do argue that all of these episodes that you just mentioned are decent.
The classics, actually, yeah. Really, really good.
A lot of people hate Jump the Shark. I think it's actually good enough.
I'm going to out myself as saying I don't remember what that episode has.
That's all right. That's all right. It's season 9, so we're almost there.
We're going to get there real soon. You can see it on the horizon.
Yeah. Really, really coming up quick, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of quick, we've got some changes that are coming to the show.
Do we?
So keep your eyes and ears peeled. We do.
Are you going to tell me?
I told you. Anyway, don't listen to him.
Okay.
Returning to the X-Files once more is Darren Morgan, but this time he's not writing. He is acting. He is an actor.
He has acted in the show
this
before.
Episode. He has.
Yeah.
But not with his face.
That's right. Now we actually get to see what he looks like.
He was in the Fluke Man costume in season 2 and wrote the best episodes the show has ever seen, and then went off to Millennium. But now he is here as the main antagonist. And yeah, he does a pretty good job of being a nobody.
I think, and we'll get to this, the real star performance in this show, though, is Dave Duchovny playing Eddie, playing Mulder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and maybe I should just shut up and we'll get to it, but it is rare, I think, that we credit Dave Duchovny with some performances that are beyond what he is capable of. And this is clearly one of those cases. He does really amazing work.
Oh, yeah. I think that's one of his strongest traits. David Duchovny is a comedic actor, and when he is asked to do something funny and play something humorously, he delivers. And this episode is no exception.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll get to it. Why don't you just start in on the episode?
We'll get to it. What do you say we talk about some small potatoes?
Let's fry up some spuds.
We open. We head down a long hospital hallway. A woman is in labor, and the doctors are tending to her as they take her to the delivery room. A nurse plays catch-up, getting the woman's personal information in between pained breaths and other chatter. It's Amanda Nelligan. When the nurse asks for the father's information, Amanda responds that he's not from around here. But the nurse offers to try it and find out at least. But it's here that Amanda drops the bombshell. He's from another planet. This stops the nurse in her tracks. In the delivery room, Amanda struggles, screaming as she delivers her baby to a calm staff tending to her. It's absolutely routine. First the head, then the shoulder, etc. The doctor's face turns from a smile to something worried. The nurse handing him his surgical tools suddenly drops them in surprise. They keep it brief, though, so as not to frighten Amanda. The doctor then takes the infant and goes behind a partition. Not another one, he says. He lifts it up, and we see a small pink tail on the baby. Credits.
What a scene.
What a scene. It takes a turn.
It's got a couple of things. A classic Vince Gilligan traits, or I'd say even X-Files traits to it. The first one being not another one, where it alludes to the fact that this is an ongoing situation. We're coming in mid-story. I'm thinking of the pilot, where they call it saying, it's happening again, isn't it? And the expression on the doctor's face, the tools falling out of the nurse's hands, great reaction shots to what's happening here. Really neat scene that it's done, and that it ends with kind of a gag, right? Like it's the CGI tail, and it's well done. But then him saying, not another one. It's like,
not another one.
It's a really good scene. I like it a lot. Good open.
I should offer our condolences to Amanda Nelligan. This is, of course, the very talented Christine Cavanaugh, and she unfortunately died in 2014 from leukemia. But she does a stellar job in this episode.
It's an amazing role that she has in this episode. She plays a simple character, but plays it up really well.
Oh, she does a fantastic job.
And what role did she play in Seinfeld?
She did not play the role in Seinfeld.
Are you sure? Because you seem to have a love affair with that show.
It's fantastic. Are you making fun of me for that?
Yep, totally.
Sir?
Totally making fun of you.
Oh, you jerk. Well, whatever.
Let's talk about this show, though. Why don't you go on?
She did play Dexter in Dexter's Laboratory.
You okay? Yeah, that's worth noting.
It is worth noting. Funny show. At least it was when I was in 6th grade or whatever. I don't remember. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it since then, but I liked it.
Might still be on.
All right. Well, what do you say we get back into the meat of this episode? Unless
ready.
You've got more to say about the intro.
No, I did. I enjoyed it the heck out of it.
All right. A tabloid flops onto Scully's lap as she sits in the passenger seat of their sedan. Mulder tossed a copy of World Weekly Informer, an offshoot of the National Enquirer, no doubt. On it is Monkey Babies Invade Small Town, picturing an infant with a monkey head and tail spliced in, among other ludicrous articles. He asks what she thinks. She's not impressed that infants are being born with vestigial tails. The coccyx enlarges to contain spinal fluid, and they shrink as children grow. Occasionally, though, they don't. It's not unheard of, but Mulder makes a more compelling case. 5 times in 3 months in a small town with less than 15,000 people. That's pretty anomalous. And while she relents that it is an anomaly and should be investigated, it shouldn't be their jobs. It's a health department thing. But Mulder beat her to that conclusion, and they're already on the case. Scully ribs Mulder by asking if he's really interested in the fact that Amanda claimed her father was from space. And we all know that is where Mulder's mind went.
Can you imagine? I mean, I know we're into a comedy episode here, but can you imagine, like, if you're Mulder And your ultimate objective is to essentially find a way into the alien conspiracy. If this is how low you've sunk, that you're relying on tips from the World Weekly
tabloids.
News, alien baby or an alien was my baby father. That's really struggling. I think he probably has other avenues he could follow up, but as a story insert, not bad.
Not bad. It's funny. I'm sure the lone gunmen are behind this tabloid in some way where they're like, hey, Mulder, you need to check this out.
You should really check this out.
And sure enough, Frohickey gave him the article and Mulder's on the case.
Yeah.
But at the hospital, the agents talk with Amanda, who is recovering from the birth. And because the officials are basically checking on her mental state to make sure the child is safe to go home with her, once the baby grows a little, they said it's just a case of snip and the tail's gone.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Did you experience any unusual complications during your pregnancy, Amanda? Did you undergo any kind of fertility treatment?
No, I wasn't trying to get pregnant. I guess you could just sort of say I'm a single mom now.
When you were admitted, you said that the baby's father was from another planet. What did you mean by that exactly?
Well, that he's not from this planet.
Were you abducted?
Huh? No. He dropped by my apartment one day and one thing sort of led to another.
But the baby's father is an alien.
No, I didn't say he was an alien. I said he was from another planet. His name is Luke Skywalker. He's what's known as a Jedi Knight.
Did he have a lightsaber?
No, he didn't bring it. He did sing his song for me, though. Dun, 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 dun.
And she speaks of this with such heartfelt matter-of-factness that Mulder slinks back into his chair and just sneaks an apology glance to Scully.
I love her
which
saying,
is awesome.
and she gets to say, did he have his lightsaber?
No.
He didn't bring it.
Unimpressed.
Yeah.
Scully is not happy at this point, and we find out that maybe Amanda is a little cuckoo here. Apparently, Luke sung his song for her, and she proceeds to hum it. And while this is happening, Mulder slips past Scully and sneaks out the door, leaving her to finish the embarrassing conversation. Before Scully can escape, though, Amanda needs some reassurance. There couldn't be any chance that, with all the other children, that Luke is the father too. And this catches Scully off guard, but then she ponders it for a moment. That actually makes sense. In the nursery, Mulder stands with the parents, staring at the carts with the infants on them through a pane of glass. In the back of the group is a janitor trying to see over his shoulder. Mulder leaves to meet Scully, who's finishing up a call. She has information for him. There's more going on here. They head to Eastern Appalachian Regional Health Department. In front of an x-ray screen, the doctor puts up each baby's DNA chart, and they're all matches. Different women gave birth by one father. Scully's a little baffled she didn't think of it sooner. The dad must have had a tail as well. More curious, Mulder notes the women all had the same gynecologist. 4 of the 5 women are married and used insemination for conception. Could the doctor have something to do with this? The agents decide to move forward with this new information.
So this is Eastern Appalachia, which Pennsylvania is my guess.
Like
I think that this is not the first time that they have singled out Pennsylvania as kind of the state where weird stuff happens.
Home?
I don't know what they've got against Pennsylvania.
Was it the one in Genderbender too with the...
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think it was because they're... Yeah. Yeah, so we got Genderbender, we got Home. I think it's Home, right?
Yeah, that's another one.
Okay. And now this. Yeah.
Check
they
it
don't
out.
like Pennsylvania.
Or Vince Gilligan maybe doesn't like Pennsylvania. We'd have to do a little...
Vince Gilligan's like, fuck you, Pennsylvania.
Had the weirdest stories.
I'm going to write about you every chance I get.
Yeah.
We go now to the office of Dr. Alton. As the agents head in, an angry couple hurry past them and assume the agents are there as a couple. Oh, you too, huh? Confused, they head inside to the doctor, pleading with several couples about their pregnancies. All of their children were born with tails. Once the agents identify themselves, the mob call for them to arrest the doctor. Dr. Alton explains his case to the angry people. These were sperm motility issues. The process has 40% rate of success, and to his shock, it worked all 4 times. But he posits another theory. Maybe it never worked at all. About to sock him, one woman, Mrs. Neiman, asks what he means. She hasn't been with another man since 1989. But he isn't accusing anyone of anything. It's here Mulder decides to take a look around. He heads down the hall to the break room and finds a janitor working on the kitchen sink. As he grabs tools from his toolbox, his shirt comes up in the trademark plumber manner. The crack shows, and Mulder spots a scar right above the top of his crack. He decides to ask him some questions. The man stands up and agrees awkwardly, but just as soon as he does, he bolts out of the room. Mulder rolls his eyes and runs after him. In the show's shortest chase scene, Mulder dives from behind and tackles the janitor to the ground, sliding into the mob of angry couples and Scully. Mulder gets Scully's attention and shows her the scar above the man's crack. All the people are there to gather and observe.
So if Eddie hadn't run away,
there's no way he could have talked his way out of that. I mean, once Mulder saw it, he knew, right?
Yeah, but you need Eddie to confess. At this stage, like what's he going to say? Did you sleep with all these women? He's going to say no, and the women are going to look at him and go no. So,
I mean, he does have an airtight case.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing that legally they could force him to give his DNA, but there's nothing they could do that with.
They could compel a paternity test. They could sneakily get his blood and then get the information they need, but
they would have to do the FBI thing where they wait for him to throw out a cup he's been drinking from or something, because then it's legally not his property.
I mean, I guess what this is getting to is that Eddie is a loser. He doesn't realize that they got nothing. You know, he panics and runs, and that's how they catch him. But yeah,
and that's the character. He is dumb.
Yeah,
he is a doofus. He's a buffoon.
Yep.
And Darren plays that role very well in this episode, and this is his first of many mistakes.
Oh yes.
So in a quick cut, a file drops in front of Eddie, the janitor. 5 out of 5 matches. The first thing he does is correct their spelling of his last name, Van Blunt. There's a silent H. They ask him how he did it. 5 women, 5 children, yet none of them remember him. The man is awkward and unassuming, but secretive. He offers the scenario that if women wanted children, but their husbands weren't able, everyone's happy. What's the issue? The agents leave without words. In a rare turn of events, Mulder is at a loss for words as well. He doesn't have any theories. Scully, however, has one. It involves rohypnol rape, date rape. It goes a long way to explaining why the women don't recall him or having sex with him. If he was working his job, he could have followed them to clubs or bars. But Mulder has a hard time believing them as frequent drinkers. Either way, she believes they can investigate this while they use that to keep him in custody.
So I have a hard time with Eddie's logic in this one, where he's saying, you know, they what's the crime here? They wanted babies and got them. You know, what's the harm? Except, of course, the mothers wanted babies with their husbands, not just anyone. I think there's a big loss of, including that.
It is a very simple way. Yeah. Yes, it is a very simple way to fix that problem that Eddie does not quite understand.
Yeah.
He's fixing it the way he wants to get his rocks off, but doesn't really jive with society.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit offside.
That's not what you do.
Yeah.
Not what you do. As Eddie is being booked, he sits next to the officer typing in his info, and as soon as he misses the H in his last name, Eddie corrects him. The officer makes fun of him and continues on, staring at his screen. Meanwhile, Eddie's eyes scan the man's body. The officer asks him to stop staring at him and give him the information he asked for. Eddie offers a little more, but then stops giving answers to his questions again. The officer turns to look at Eddie and is shocked. Eddie, looks exactly like the officer now, staring back at him. He clocks him over the head with the mug, knocking the officer unconscious. Eddie then reminds him the H is silent.
Ooh, he's a ninja.
He's a ninja.
Okay.
What'd you think of that reveal?
I liked the reveal. It's simple and effective. I suppose what I don't like is that we don't really come back to Eddie needing to scan people. Like that's what I take away from the scene is the intensity with which he watches. And you get that he's doing that so that he can kind of program what he's going to have to look like. But we don't have that with Mulder. I guess we never have the opportunity to see that with his dad, but I kind of wish they came back to that at least one more time. In his conversation with Mulder, we could have that as a way to sort of bring it back as a thing. But
they should have drawn attention to it in the interrogation.
I think so. Yeah. Otherwise, I like this scene. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, the constant misspelling of his name is a gag, which I gather relates back to David Duchovny's name, how the H is silent.
Yep.
But as a scene and a nice little reveal for the power, I dig it. I think we'll talk later about the limits to Eddie's powers and what shapes he can change to and how. But for now, I'm on board.
Well, the next day, we're at the precinct, now a crime scene, and it's being examined. The sheriff explains to the agents the officer involved said goodnight to him and everything. He left. But here he is this morning, shoved under a desk with a wound to his head and an ice pack. The deputy explains that the guy cold-cocked him, but he looked like himself. Mulder and Scully meet up, and Mulder has a theory now, but Scully says it out loud instead.
I love that moment, actually.
Yeah. He's delighted. Yeah. He's like, man. Scully once again pleads for the simple explanation. The deputy was hit hard over the head. He could have ID'd anyone as his attacker, and I have to say, Andrew, that is a lame explanation, if ever she's provided one. I don't buy that even she believes that.
It is classic Scully, though, to point out the blindingly obvious.
Conversely, Mulder explains his theory goes a long way in explaining how 5 women have children with this man after never having seen him. They travel to his house on Prospect Way.
Hey, Scully, if you could be somebody else for a day, who would it be?
Hopefully myself.
So boring. I mean, wouldn't you even be tempted to try in somebody else's existence for a day, live your life as somebody else?
Looking like someone else, Mulder, and being someone else are completely different things.
Well, maybe it's not. I mean, everybody else around you would treat you like you were somebody else. I mean, ultimately, maybe it's other people's reactions to us that make us who we are.
All right, then. Eleanor Roosevelt.
Can't be a dead person.
Why the hell not?
Because.
As the agents step onto the porch, the side of the house is adorned with the Van Blunt name, and we see the H fall off silently to no one's notice. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch that, but as you said it, I thought, I wonder if the H would fall off. It would be a nice little gag.
Oh, my God. As soon as Mulder walks to the side of the porch, and then he comes back to the door, and as soon as he passes the H, it just kind of falls off.
That's brilliant. I have to watch that again.
That's so good. An elderly man answers the door, Van Blunt Sr. The agents identify themselves as FBI, and he calls his son a moron while asking what he's done now. We then cut later on. He's shocked to hear he's responsible for the rape of 5 women. They explain he's escaped and they're hunting him. Mulder spots a circus poster on the wall for the Monkey Man and asks if it's him. The man poses with a smile and says, "One and the same." He asks if they want to see the tail, and at the same time they answer, Mulder with an emphatic yes and Scully with an emphatic no. Eddie Jr. had his removed despite his father's protests. He recalls a conversation with his son, "You ain't much to look at, you ain't no athlete, and you sure as hell ain't no Einstein. But at least you got that tail. Otherwise, you're just small potatoes." Mulder asks if Eddie Jr. has any other unique medical conditions. Eddie Sr. responds with Mulder's name while trying to explain another condition, but Mulder cuts him off. He asks how he knew his name. He claims that Scully told him, but she says no. The old man darts out of the room. Another chase scene. It's Eddie Jr. Ooh. Scully heads out the front door while Mulder pursues out back. When he rounds the house back to the street, he finds the elderly man's red robe discarded. He scans the street to find him, but only sees other men. One walking a dog, another taking out the garbage. He stops pursuit as Scully joins him. It's another brief chase scene. Mm. So did you like that? Classic, you're giving out too much information. Yes. And then you've caught yourself, right?
I did like the setup for the reveal. My issue starts becoming about the power at this point. But I like if you just sort of don't pay attention to how the power works, I like the scene and how, oh, look, it's young Eddie. That's a nice touch. And that, again, right. Lovable loser Eddie has screwed up and is caught out.
Yeah.
And I'll save the discussion of the power for the next time it happens, obviously, which is the big deal. But for now, let's just say that I am starting to begin to have issues with how this power works.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We go now to a residential home. One of the women, Mrs. Neiman, is tending to her baby who has a bandage over his bum. Her husband rushes in the front door and locks it behind him. We know it's not him, and without words, he hurries to the bathroom and shuts the door, panting. He splashes water on his face. It's now Eddie Jr. in his true form. He asks for some privacy as she wonders what's wrong. Meanwhile, in Eddie's house, the agents search for clues and information. Mulder goes upstairs with his flashlight. It's a disgusting house. Things are everywhere. Some powder falls on him from above, and he identifies it as quicklime. He's at the attic door. He pulls the chain above him, standing out of the way, and as soon as he does, a stiff, gray, petrified man falls to the ground. It's the real Eddie Sr., identified by his long tail.
You know that if there's quicklime, this can't be a good thing.
Not at all.
There's only one thing quicklime is good for. Do you know of any other purposes for quicklime?
I do not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a nice touch, though.
Back at the Neiman house with Eddie, as he remains tending to himself in the bathroom, trying to come up with a plan, the real husband arrives. Mrs. Neiman is horrified. She just saw him come home. She directs him to the bathroom. They creep up on the door slowly as she holds his arm in fear. They see the shadow of something moving around under the door. As they reach the door, Eddie opens it. But he's not the husband anymore. He's Mulder, and he says, "All clear." Commercial.
What a reveal.
So now he's being nuts.
Now he's telling you.
Now he's being nuts.
Okay. I think this is as good a place.
So what's your issue? What's your issue?
Yeah. All right. The first thing is, so we eventually learn that this is a skin thing, that he's able to, his skin is a muscle that he is able to contort. And thus he can use that to change his face, take on a different appearance. I buy that to a limited extent. Like, I think for some people, you'd have to be able to change your bone structure as well. Like, like how does your nose change? How does the physical shape of your head change? How do you get taller or shorter or heavier or thinner?
I agree with that. I've had to struggle with that myself, but I think the thing I struggle with the most is the voice.
And that is the other thing I have is the voice. Yeah. Although they answer that question by just telling us that it happens because he portrays his father, who has a clearly different voice. So for the conceit to work, they're suggesting that he's able to change his vocal cords as well. And I first thought of that when he comes in as the Neiman husband, and he's saying, "Just give me a minute, my sweet babu," or whatever. Like he's clearly able to do the voice enough that she believes it's him. So I disagree with it too, because it's not a skin thing, but the episode clearly wants me to believe that it's being hand waved away. But the general shape of the body and the face and hair, like he suddenly has hair as Mulder, where, how do you just grow hair? So, I feel like they are loose on the details. And the problem is that they try to explain it. If they didn't have Scully try and explain it, I think we would be all right.
Here's the way I view it. And I do agree with everything you're saying there, because it is one of those things where you have to call into question the physics of it.
Yeah.
Let's believe this power exists. How does he grow hair? And I think their way out of it is that it's just like a cartoon, right? This episode is a humorous episode.
Mm-hmm.
So they can get away with stuff and not drawing attention to it.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be funny.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas if they had taken a serious tone with this, we'd be like,
wait a second.
This makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
and I still have issues with it, honestly. But yeah, you do kind of naturally, without thinking about it, you register it and then you go, oh, well. Because it's a humorous episode, so
exactly
the rules don't apply.
Mulder's at the door there, you're like, oh, I see exactly where this is going to go, and I'm okay with it because it's so novel. You know, they have not gone here before. This is really interesting. I want to know what happens next. I'm not as concerned about why anymore because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. In the autopsy bay, Scully begins working on the corpse with a saw. Mulder arrives. The quicklime burned the tissue pretty badly, but that's only one of the two things she has not yet figured out. She shows Mulder a sample under the microscope. She found striated muscle tissue, which isn't abnormal, but she found it everywhere, which very much is abnormal. He has a thin layer of voluntary muscle tissue throughout his body. As she continues about the medical anomaly, Mulder heads to the corpse to examine it himself. He presses a little too hardly on the tail, snapping it off to his horror. He fumbles quietly with it, trying not to alert Scully in a very humorous little bit, ultimately leaning the tail as best he can where it snapped. It is a brilliant scene, and Duchovny does so well with the comedic bits. What gets me is that we've all been there. Not with the body, but with a trinket of some sort, where we've accidentally broken something and we're like fumbling with it.
Yeah, it's nice.
This just rings true to me. You know, as a kid, you know you've been here.
And they had to have planned that out too. I'm just thinking that, you know, you don't. At first, I thought they found that moment in blocking that scene and thought they would just, you know, play it up and have fun with it. But no, you had to create the prop. You know, you had to figure out how that was going to work.
Yeah.
Unless they created the Eddie Sr. prop and the tail broke. And then they're like, oh, damn. Well, guys, I got this idea for a great scene. You know, and then just play that up.
Oh, it's just brilliant.
It's a great scene. I liked it. And it's been a while since we've had a Scully autopsy.
Yeah.
It's been a good couple of episodes.
I want to say it was technically Terma, but it was just a rock.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It has been a while. Important to note that Scully's got a new theory that Eddie has an identical twin, which, again, makes no sense with the available evidence.
Yeah.
Nice try, Scully.
I feel so bad for her. She comes up with some really shit theories.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
She's trying, ladies and gentlemen. She is trying. Well, Mulder inquires what the purpose of the muscle could be, but it's only guessing at this point. He surmises that maybe it's like father, like son, like the tail. If Eddie has this musculature as well, maybe it can be utilized to distort the skin, helping him create other people's images. After distracting her with conversation while hiding his faux pas, Mulder manages to get the tail to stay back in place. He heads out the door. Something about Eddie's M.O. doesn't jibe. 4 married women and 1 single woman. That's a clue. As he leaves, the door closes behind him and the tail falls back off. Because of course.
Of course.
At the hospital, Mulder is visiting Amanda and her baby. He just has a few more questions for her. The nurse takes the baby back to the nursery. They want to make sure she's safe around her baby, because she does seem a little nuts. Mulder sits on the bed. He holds up a photo of Eddie, and she knows him.
Oh, yes? Who? That's Eddie Van Blunt.
What can you tell me about him?
We went out all through high school. Hey, brother.
What?
Nothing. He's sort of a loser. He's one of those guys you look back on and you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? What was I thinking?
Well, what specifically made him a loser?
I don't know. Everything. he had like 1 million annoying personal habits. Just no sense of romance, no ambition, no direction. I mean, I hear he's like a janitor or something now. He had this weird family. His dad was in a circus or something. I don't know. Never let me meet him, thank God.
He must have had some good qualities.
Well, yeah, sure, everybody's got a few. Yeah, we had some good times. He really loved Star Wars, so we used to go and see it every weekend. That was nice. He was no Luke, that's for sure. Why do you want to know about Eddie?
That's official FBI business.
As she describes Eddie in mostly negative terms, Mulder reacts a little hurt. At the end of the conversation, he offers her a rose to congratulate her on her event. He leaves the room, looking a little mopey. She offers him, may the force be with you, to his disgust. He stands outside the door for a moment and immediately hides his face when he looks at reception. The real Mulder is checking in to see Amanda, and yep, it was Eddie the whole time, Andrew.
At what point in the interview did you clock that this is Eddie?
Because when he started looking a little sad about how she was talking about Eddie, I think it was like, okay, this is not.
And again, this is a great show don't tell moment where it's David Duchovny's acting style, which is saving the day here, because you can tell it's not Mulder. It's the way that face is moving around, that it is not the certain Mulder we know. It is some uncertain Mulder, and you're like, oh, I see what you did there. It's you bait and switched us from Mulder leaving and saying, I got to go talk to somebody, and he's going to go talk to Amanda, and then coming back here, but it's the other Mulder talking. It's a really nice construction, and I like how the scene develops. Yeah. And the whole giving her the rose, celebrating the blessed event, like, oh, please.
Oh, this is not Mulder.
This is definitely not Mulder.
Back in Amanda's room, the real Mulder comes in. She preempts his conversation. Why did you want to know about Eddie? This confuses him, but he gets a call. It's Mr. Neiman asking if it's okay to use their bathroom yet, to Mulder's confusion. This is a little confusing as we have to put a little mental fortitude into it, Andrew. I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we see the real Mulder ever give his business card to anyone yet in this episode. And somehow Van Blunt had to give it to them, or conversely, they would have had to call the detectives who relayed the phone number to them to reach Mulder.
I believe that more.
Yeah.
Or he could say, just call the FBI. When you're
it's a small thing, but it's always stuck with me. I'm like, how the hell would they get his phone number?
Yeah, it's true. Huh? But certainly Eddie wouldn't know it. So
yeah, Eddie would have no idea.
Yeah, nice catch. The episode's clearly terrible.
Yeah, absolutely awful. But the Neimans complain that they need to use their bathroom and are confused as to why Mulder needed his charcoal suit. They hang up, and Mulder is wise to Eddie's game. He leaves Amanda and inquires where he went to a nurse. She points him in the direction of the locker room. He cautiously enters and looks around, unholstering his gun. A security guard is changing, and Mulder suspects Blunt. He cuffs the man at gunpoint and apologizes if it's not him. Then the gynecologist comes out of the showers. He cuffs them together, suspecting everybody. He tells them to sit tight and calls Scully to have her meet him. As he hangs up the phone, one of the fluorescent lights flickers above him, and he notices one of the tiles is askew. He checks it, and from the darkness we hear, "You're a damn good-looking man," and Eddie comes crashing down on him. Out in the hallway, Scully arrives to the two men yelling at Mulder, who's holding his head, injured. He's a little apologetic and annoyed as they part ways. He explains to Scully that Van Blunt cold-cocked him and that local authorities are pissed off. He talks as if he's leaving the case behind. The authorities will catch him eventually. He apologizes for dragging her out here on the case and that the only thing here is small potatoes. The camera lingers on the basement door, and we know where this is headed. In the dark, dank cellar of the hospital, pipes all over, the camera tracks deep inside. It comes to a locked door that says "See Janitor" for keys, and the real Mulder presses his face against the small window and calls for help to no one. Eddie left him a perk cola, a sandwich, and an apple. So he's locked in the basement.
Yeah, and it's a nice construction of the scene. I think it's an interesting direction it's going to go to. I think when I first saw Eddie as Mulder nursing his head and, apologizing to Scully, my gut instinct was, how does Eddie know how to channel Mulder quite so well at this point? I think we as an audience are meant to, it's not an accident that he's written that way there. I think we're meant to sort of think, oh, poor Mulder, he was attacked by Eddie and Eddie got away and that's fine. And then when we hear small potatoes, we're meant to go, wait a second.
Oh, yeah.
Is that him? But I didn't need Eddie to be that smart then. I needed, or I needed more explanation as to why he can suddenly be so well in character. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I could see that. I do think it's more of I'm sorry, let me just get out of the situation. He's playing it, he doesn't want to be a part of the conversation. He's trying to remove himself. I didn't see anything other than our intuition that this isn't Mulder, that screamed this isn't Mulder, if that makes any sense. I think initially when he's talking to the guards or the guard who's mad at him and the doctor, it's like, I'm sorry, I was just doing my job, whatever. And then when he starts talking to Scully and that the case is now being left behind, you're like, okay, this is for sure is not Mulder. And then he drops small potatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
In Skinner's office, the AD reviews their case and the agents sit quietly. He asks which of them wrote it, to which Van Blunt takes credit. You misspelled Federal Bureau of Investigation. Twice. Eddie squirms a little when Skinner calls Van Blunt a rapist, but overall the case is pretty cut and dry. He was stowing the father's body away to cash in on his Social Security checks still. From here, the agents go to Mulder's office and call it a day. Scully parts ways to go over the autopsy findings more, and Van Blunt heads into the office to look around. The following scenes of Duchovny playing someone else, playing him, are excellent.
It's the highlight of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. There's commentary on who Mulder is, how he lives. He makes it to Mulder's apartment, looks around, listens to his phone messages, feeds his fish, and all the while he is trying on Mulder as best he can. He's figuring out who he is going to become, which is a good time. And eventually, of course, he finds himself at a tall mirror and starts the Robert De Niro taxi driver routine, which is fantastic. He draws his gun in a flash and drops the clip out of it, which is awesome.
The whole
excellent scene.
The whole thing is such a good opportunity for Vince Gilligan to explore what these agents do outside of a case. Like officially they've left the case behind and we've still got 15 minutes of show left. So it's like, where are we going to go from here? And I love that we start peeling back what their non-work lives are a little bit, even though it's in this weird instruction of it's actually Eddie who's exploring what Mulder's life looks like. And we get a lot of good little nuggets there. We get a picture of the Fluke Man on the office corkboard, which I'm sure is not there by accident. And I love that Eddie can't find the right key to get into the office. This detail is completely missed by Scully. Yeah, it's so good. The De Niro thing is awesome. It's just so lovable loser.
Yeah, this is who he thinks. Or it's not who he thinks these people are, but of course he would do that. He would stand in front of a mirror, and now that he has access to a gun, he would do this, and he would flash his badge to himself.
Totally expected the gun to go off or something, but
yeah.
And then we have these great
that would have been funny.
We have these great drop-ins with the answering machine. We got Langley with his phone message. Erase this after you've heard it. And then the sex line that he's got the advertisement for.
He's about to write down the phone number, but then he realizes it.
Yeah. Oh, it's such good
900. Yeah. Well, we end up, of course, at Scully's apartment. Van Blunt shows up and she invites him in. He brings her some wine. The two begins discussing the case, although she's doing the talking. He just wants her to come visit. They share the wine on the couch, and Van Blunt assumes that they don't talk much, asking her to open up and have deep discussion.
We never really, talk much, do we?
What do you mean, like, really talk? No, we don't, Mulder.
Well, what's stopping us?
So there we are at 2 o'clock in the morning, me and my moire taffeta dress and Marcus and whatever the hell it was he was wearing. Thank you very much. It had a Kelly green cummerbund on it. Anyway, so I know that Marcus is thinking that it's now or never. And I'm thinking...
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, what is that siren I hear getting louder?
No way. Who called the cops?
Well, it wasn't the cops, it was the fire department. My friend Sylvia and her idiot prom date
Burwood?
had built this campfire that went totally out of control, and so we all had to ride back on the, what do you call it? The pumper truck. Yeah. Marcus was the 12th grade love of my life. I can't believe I'm telling you this.
I don't believe you haven't told me before.
No, I'm seeing a whole new side of you, Mulder.
Is that a good thing?
I like it.
Do you ever wish things were different?
What do you mean?
The person you wanted to be when you grew up, when you were in high school. How far off from that did you end up?
Career-wise, miles off target.
No, not just that, but do you ever wish that you could go back and do it all differently?
Do you?
His charm is very evident as he draws Scully into feeling extremely calm and unreserved. He scoots closer to her and leans in for a kiss. She's shocked, but allows it to happen. As he comes mere centimeters from her lips, her apartment door busts open. It's the real Mulder, having just arrived back and coming to exact revenge. Scully's startled by the door and can't believe her eyes. When she puts it together that the real Mulder is at the door, she recoils and shoves Van Blunt away, who then puts on his aw shucks face and reverts back to the Eddie Jr. we all know. In jail now, Van Blunt waits for Mulder in his orange jumpsuit. He's wearing a ball cap that says Superstar. His therapist makes him wear it to bolster his self-esteem. He's requested to see Mulder to talk to him a little bit here. Mainly, he just wants to comment on Mulder and the life he leads. Van Blunt calls himself a loser, being born into it. But Mulder chooses it for some reason. And he tells Mulder to treat himself a little bit, to live his life. Mulder leaves without words. Scully's waiting for him outside in the hall, and the two slowly exit the facility. She tries to console him by saying he's not a loser. But Mulder retorts, I'm no Eddie Van Blunt either. Credits. Wow.
It's a hell of a show.
Yeah.
I kind of hate myself a little bit for pointing out the flaws.
Well, it's only fair. I mean, to be fair, Vince Gilligan has a very good track record, so you have to keep him in line a little bit.
Yeah, again, remind him what's what.
I mean, we would do it with any other episode.
We would. I think it's funny how much I can blind myself to the shortcomings of the episode because you don't care. You know, there's just so much good stuff in here that it's like, yeah, so what if the superpower is a little bit flaky and it's a one-off, it's a monster of the week. It doesn't have any bearing on the rest of the show. It's a great opportunity for the show to sort of play with different concepts and different ways for the characters to exist, and it really pays off that way. If you were to look objectively at Eddie, it's ridiculous that he stays here to romance Scully because he's a wanted murderer. No, wait, he's not a wanted murderer. He's a wanted rapist, which is just bad.
Rapist.
Yeah. So, and he's not dumb. Like, he recognizes that he's in trouble. So, like, he should be taking the opportunity to get away. But, I mean, the episode allows it to happen because it's a great scene. we want to see them maybe do it. But of course, at the 9th hour, Mulder bursts in to break up the kiss that wasn't. He is the original bee that breaks up the sting.
Right.
So, you know what? It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the episode. It has some obvious plot nuggets it has some obvious plot holes that don't work, but I am totally willing to overlook them for the sake of the episode.
Yeah. And I do want to comment on your idea that Van Blunt should be trying to escape. I think any normal killer would be.
Yeah.
Aside, outside of a TV show. Yes. In the X-Files, they'd come back to kill or make another kill and get caught. But I think in this case, Eddie is so sexually motivated that he can't really resist himself. I think what I like about the scene with David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson at the end is that we get to see how he does it. He's actually a smooth talker. Mm-hmm. And it's a little disturbing because she's getting drawn in.
Yeah, you can see how good he is.
The reason he doesn't leave is because this was always his goal once he became Mulder.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about escaping completely. It was about escaping the hospital. Once he did that, he could just be who he is. And that's a little disturbing. But yeah, I think this scene is just played so well by both Duchovny and Gillian. And they definitely were doing a wink and a nod to the audience, the shippers out there who have been waiting with bated breath to see this happen.
Oh,
but, yeah. Even if it's not really Mulder.
That's the only reason it could happen. It's because it's not Mulder. And it's
because it's not Mulder.
It's never going to happen with that.
Right.
Well, we have one listener comment. Shall we lay that on?
Yeah.
It's Emily Messenger.
Go ahead, sir.
Big surprise. Emily always has good things to say. She says, "Oh my God, 1,000,000 times yes to the swooning over the fake out kiss, even though we knew it wasn't Mulder. I adore Darren Morgan. Duchovny's acting when Eddie was in Mulder's form was delightful. The little facial expressions and awkwardness were perfect. The scene at the hospital with Amanda Nelligan where she dropped the bomb that her baby daddy was Luke Skywalker was priceless. Both Mulder and Scully's reaction were chef kiss. The silent H in homage to Duchovny's dad dropping the H and the H falling off the house were perfect little production notes that I hope everyone appreciates. Yes, well done. If I had to pick one episode to watch for the rest of my life, this might be it." Interesting.
I can understand that. It's got everything we love about the X-Files, and it has just that taste of shipper greatness.
Shipper magic. Well, obviously,
so it satisfies
like
all aspects.
Yeah.
That's why she and other people like it.
Oh, right. But not you. Fair enough.
Stop it. It's just a fun episode, really. I think
sure is.
It's a great little diversion from the normal X-Files formula. Despite not having written it himself, Darren Morgan's involvement only makes it better as an actor. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he is the perfect buffoon and misguided individual in this episode. So I like it.
Not much else to say, isn't it? It's just really, it's Vince Gilligan, isn't it?
Vince Gilligan, he knows how to write. And I wanted to ask you, at the very end of that episode, we see Mulder and Scully leave. And in the out of focus, in the background, we see the janitor.
Yeah.
With the hat. So.
Oh, it's not
Is
Eddie.
that him?
He didn't get out. No, it's
okay.
I think the
therapist
takeaway
just assigns it to everyone.
The therapist gives everybody the hat. I think that's the takeaway. But no,
I just thought I'd ask.
It wouldn't surprise me a writer doing the fake out, like not being able to give up their villains.
Right.
But the problem is that Eddie isn't. He's not significant enough to warrant an escape like that. Right. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Interesting point. I think almost you didn't need to have that character there because it's prompting this discussion. But I think the hat is what they really wanted to say. Like the little parting shot of they had the hat and now everybody's got the hat. But my question to you, Mike, was going to be if you could live a day as another person, the question that Mulder asks Scully in the episode. Who might it be? And they have to be alive, apparently, is the criteria.
That's the rule.
It's the rule that Mulder throws out.
If I could live as someone else, it would have to be someone semi-successful, just so I can get an idea of... Because now my inner rock star is coming out. I'd want to live like James Hetfield or something from Metallica.
Just to know what they...
Just to know what they go through day to day and what it's like to have thousands of people there to see you. Always a dream from when I was a young boy, a wee lad. Obviously, I gave that up a while ago. But yeah, I think that would be one of my bigger interests would be to be amongst, if not be them, be amongst them to see how they live.
I guess the question would be, are you the person or are you Eddie emulating that person? Like you've got the person you're emulating in the closet for the day. Because if you are James Hetfield, then you know everything he's thinking. You can be him, you can play like him. But if you are just Eddie and James is tied up in the closet, then you can't play worth shit.
I would have to be the person.
You'd be the person. Okay.
Yeah. Because you can't fake that talent, that guitar playing. You just can't do it. And I certainly can't do it that well. So,
yeah. I think maybe a controversial answer. I would be somebody like Vladimir Putin for a couple of reasons. A, you could just say, you know what, guys, this war, I think I'm going to change my mind on it. And regardless of what I say tomorrow, you keep me to that. In fact, I might just go out tonight. I might just end it.
Blow my brain out.
But also for the main reason that you could learn things that the secrets that you would never know. So,
right.
If you were Obama or something, you could know the reasons or the what's really in Area 51. that kind of
yeah.
That would be cool to know.
Nice. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my answer to that question.
The overall appeal of becoming someone else is, some people would say, I want to be rich and I want to live like this person. That's not what I'm thinking when I say James Hetfield. It is the knowledge. I'm a big fan of, obviously, music and their careers, obviously. But anyone who's in that situation, I would be interested in the knowledge you can get from it. So your assertion that you would be Putin is an interesting way to take it because, I went with like a hero. You went with like the enemy, but that's just as legitimate because you're going for the information route.
Then we create a new show where James Hetfield takes on Vladimir Putin.
Oh man,
there's a show.
Yeah,
there's a show.
That is a show. I like it.
Yeah. Check this space.
Check this space to see developments. Yeah, that's the show.
That's the show.
I mean, good episode despite our little complaints here and there. Very, very fun, very funny. David Duchovny is the shining light of this episode.
Great to see him spread his wings because, he has the stock character that doesn't get to have a lot of opportunity for that. Occasionally gets to be weepy. Occasionally he gets to be beat up. But here's a case where he really gets to act in an interesting scenario. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Andrew, if you have nothing further to say, please say goodbye to our dear listeners.
Dear listeners, goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.